Welcome to episode 2 of the Executive Corner. I'm Simon Preston. Thank you all so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, we kindly encourage you to hit the like, share and subscribe button to JFF Live and also purchase a membership as well. It's only $9.99 for exclusive content as well. And you'll also get access to behind the scenes content. And when we have matches, whether home or abroad, you will certainly have some more perks at your disposal. So let's get into episode 2, shall we? We have two very important guests, and to kick off our first proceedings, we're going to talk to an individual that knows what it's like to wear the national colours of Jamaica, someone that has played overseas, in Portugal, in England, in the Netherlands, and even in North America as well. And he now has the privilege of being the head coach of the senior women's national team, Coach Hubert Busby. Coach, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me this morning.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you. Thank you very much for your time. We know it's a very hectic time frame that lies ahead, especially with the June window and World Cup qualifiers ahead. So your time is greatly appreciated. Just to kick things off briefly, Coach, just talk a bit about your background. Born in Toronto, in Ontario, Canada.
Yeah, born in Toronto, Ontario. My mom's obviously from Jamaica. My dad's from Aruba. Spent the formative years in Kingston, like a lot of people and parents or people who migrated to Canada or to America, was kind of sent back and raised with your grandparents, which is a fantastic experience. Went to Pembroke Hall High School, public school for a while, elementary, and when everything's got fixed up, the parents kind of send for you to go back. So just a great the formative years till the age of about 6 was kind of back in Jamaica, and that's where the love of the game had started for sure.
Yeah, just in terms of the background, just a little bit, would you say that you grew up with a Jamaican culture, a Dutch culture, a mixture of everything, really?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Aruba was a colony of the Dutch. Needless to say, when you're speaking the Papimento, my dad was speaking cuss words, so I really didn't pick up that. So it was always the maternal household, mom rules. So it was always really kind of Jamaican based, and especially with a lot of my family had kind of migrated to well. Yeah, we just had a strong influence of Indian culture. Definitely geared towards the Jamaican side, that's for sure.
Yeah, and in terms of the footballing side of things, were there other sports that you played growing up as well, or it was just football, you fell in love, and it is just taking you on the path you are today?
I mean, I think one of the things that allowed me to kind of progress in football was the ability to be playing, especially different sports. I think, especially with being a goalkeeper, basketball and volleyball and high jump and all the things that you do has definitely helped with the coordination, balance, and your technique, power, all the things needed to play in the position. So yeah, I actually really loved basketball for the longest time, and was actually pretty good at it. My brother went and played college in the States, and I had an opportunity to have a scholarship to play in both sports. So but football has always been love. Not sure why goes goalkeeper. Remember, was a frustrated striker or something, but yeah, just always fell in love, and football's always been the sport for me.
Yeah, and that journey in terms of playing now, becoming professional, and getting an opportunity to play in Europe, what was that experience like for you? You've of course spoke about your experiences in Jamaica, of course in North America, but going to Europe, a different culture, different way of life. What was that like for you?
Yeah, and to be honest with you, it was, you're talking, sort of late 80s,
early 90s.
Early 90s, and football isn't what it is now. And so Europe was kind of a distant. There was pro league, semi-pro league, and just by fate, I happened to be playing a really good game in Detroit for one of the professional teams, and was kind of scouted by someone who had a connection with my coach, as well as someone had a connection with Ajax that kind of took me over there. I was trained with Ajax for a few days, not even close to being to the level at that time of the Van der Sars of the world, but kind of dropped down a level to find my niche. And after that, as I said, the rest was history. I've been able to kind of carve out a little bit of a journeyman career. Because, there's only one person ever plays in goal at a time. But yeah, just truly grateful, not just for the football, but for the experiences to live in different places and experience different cultures. I think has really, shaped me as a person and as a man, and allows me to have empathy, when I know what it's like for people who migrate to another country and how they have to adapt and how they have to get along. I know sometimes people wonder why players don't adapt to a new country, and it's difficult. It's really difficult. And so I really can kind of appreciate some of the things that when you see players don't settle, there's a lot of factors probably behind that. So I think it's given me a lot of insight for sure.
Yes, you have played in Portugal, but of course you did something that many persons dream of doing in their entire life, and that is to play in England, regardless of what level it might be. Oxford, and then of course Crystal Palace. Talk about that England chapter of your life and what that was like.
Yeah, look, I would have said, for me, I would have stayed in Portugal. I mean, I was in Caldish. I was by the beach.
I learned the language.
I learned the language. The people were wonderful to me. But like everything, that's kind of driven a little bit more financially. But from a cultural perspective, I really appreciated Portugal and even Spain. There was a really sense of family, and things like when they say, and maybe it's the Jamaican kind of, when things shut down, we shut down. We enjoyed the 2 hours of lunch. Nothing opens up. It's a little bit slower pace. People have time for each other. The friends of family and community was really something I really appreciated. But again, when clubs come inquiring and look at, the money was better. And then you wanted to kind of experience that culture because you see it every day on TV, and you want to see where you can kind of make your mark. But really it was kind of geared towards an idea of, it was a new opportunity, but, and an opportunity to test myself. But from a cultural perspective, I was kind of happy where I was.
Yeah, and just briefly in terms of England, as you know, you had the experience at Oxford. I'm sure it must have been like an icebreaker moment when you got the chance to meet Coach Steve McLaren as well on the men's side, because he of course played for Oxford as well, and you would have knockheads on what Oxford was like as a city, as a club, etc. So a lot of similarities between you two having played for Oxford.
Yeah, ironically, and Paul Simpson. Well, I think there's some people who are still there, ironically. But yeah, it's just a great little town where a lot of people probably wouldn't know because it's synonymous with school and everything else. And it was definitely, you can tell the academia was in the air. And I think most people thought that's where I was from when they kind of saw me around. It was just like someone's going to school there. But yeah, there's a lot of connections, and it's a great little old manor ground before Sam Stadium was built. But again, really enjoyed my time there. The people, again, being kind of in a small town, like everything else, when you win, you can go out for dinner. If you don't, you stay home, because if you're recognized by anybody, it could be problematic for sure.
Right. Yeah. Now, in terms of the national team side of things, talk me through that story, and our viewers as well, through that story of you getting the phone call from Coach Clovis de Oliveira to be called up for a World Cup qualifier against Trinidad, coming to Jamaica, the passport, everything.
Yeah, I think it was started before that. I think it was Coach Lazzaroni had kind of reached out, and things couldn't, whatever reason, I don't recall. I think it was a trip that we were supposed to go to Brazil. I was supposed to meet in New York, and things didn't quite happen. I would say, through that whole process, I was still in conversations with Canada about representing them, but I felt compelled, especially after the World Cup, and I felt like there was something there that ignited me. And I think a lot of players go through the dual nationalities, and for me, it wasn't about playing for Canada per se, as it was about truly trying to make maybe a statement at that time. There wasn't a lot of black players coming through, and there definitely were no black goalkeepers coming through, and I felt within my family and at that time that it was maybe something that we should kind of look at, and I think a lot of people probably didn't know that, but I think a lot of times there were I look at the national team there now, it's completely different based on it, which is great to see. As far as Jamaica is concerned, I think I was inspired by that group. And I knew that just watching there, I remember playing in Toronto, but I remember watching each and every game and just absolutely feeling inspired, even, for the country and the players and rooting them on. And it's just something that I thought, like, this is definitely, that's where it started, and this is where I need to come home to. So I was a little bit late in that process. And when I finally came through and, my uncle, former president of the Jamaican Football Federation, and synonymous with Boys Town, Loxley Cumry, kind of picked me up and got me to Mr. Howie Bell, and all I remember too is and how things work and continue to work. But I think within 2 hours I had all my paperwork, my passport, and I was ready to go. And within 2 hours of dropping off things, so I'm not sure how. I wish it kind of worked the same way right now. I understand, but I think things were in place at that time for it to happen, and I just had a tremendous experience. I joke about it all the time with Dion now, still about the house, that still kind of existed, 26 to a house. All of us kind of in the room, because I can never recall, I think it was Linville, myself, Dion, and somebody else, but it was just, it was just a really amazing experience. And to come out that game against Trinidad and have family there and the passion, the full stadium, it's really a great experience.
Having the privilege to wear the shirts of your country as a player, a wonderful experience. But to do so now in a coaching capacity, speak about that and what the last decade, you could say, has been in terms of the national program, and also assisting at various different age groups, and to where you are now in terms of the senior women's national team.
Yeah, it's a full circle moment, and I'm overwhelmed. Not overwhelmed. I'm just but the joy of what comes with that, and the responsibility that comes along with that. But the passion that I know myself and the staff have towards seeing the country succeed. I think I'm always reminded again how fantastic it is when I travel, and you're sometimes recognized at the airports when you travel in international airports. The kind of the bandwidth that we have as a country and a program fills me with tremendous pride and joy. And so for it to be a full circle moment for me to come in and represent and have this opportunity and responsibility, obviously fills me with a lot of pride.
Amazing. Now, tell us a little bit about what a day in the life of Coach Busby is like, from you wake up in the morning until you sign off at night. What does that day look like in terms of whether it's phone calls, emails, meetings? What does a day look like?
Yeah, it's funny because I think a lot of people think it's, you don't do anything until you get towards camp, or very little. But I think for me, it's interesting because obviously when I wake up, 6:30, I've already missed about 5 or 6 WhatsApp calls or messages from agent people overseas or even coaches, obviously looking to connect. We have consistent dialogue with my coaching staff, obviously with players. Sometimes we check in, including yesterday, after a Sunday, we'll check in with some of the players. Spend a lot of time with college coaches, and spend a lot of time with agents. I think when a lot of times people don't understand as well is that we do a very thorough vetting process as well. We identify a player identifies that they want to play for Jamaica. We go through a very thorough vetting process, and it's always the why. Why do you want to, play for the country? And it's not so much of an interview as to make sure that there's alignment in terms of what we're looking to do and what the clause is. Because, it's not going to be, it's not always going to be glamorous, not always going to be perfect. But you have to understand that you're coming, there's a responsibility that you have to come in with. And I'm pleased to say that most of the time, players do that. I think what's interesting now is I'm getting consistent calls from families and dads and moms who are want to join the program at a younger age, which is obviously very interesting now because let's be honest, there was a time where people thought, well, if you didn't want to play for your country of birth, that you didn't want to play here, that was a problem. or that was an issue, and Jamaica was a secondary choice, but that's no longer the case. But there's a lot of things that we do on a week-to-week basis in terms of analyzing players, scouting players, making sure that we're up to par or understanding the evaluation process. Dealing with injuries, dealing with clubs, making sure that our local players are being supported as well, to the best of our ability, which is really, really important. And for us, trying to get out, I'll try to get out to a game this weekend before I leave again for these next upcoming games, to have a visual presence. And the reason why I'm here is that people understand that there's some touch points, so we can have conversations, so I can have dialogue with people on the ground. I think it's very, very important. And I think it's a continuum of every day's evaluation. If you're in a pro environment, you might have 25 players. The reserve team of U21s will have 25 players. We have 65 players and our U20 players who are just coming through that we need to monitor. So it's a consistent evaluation and dialogue and assessment and work on what needs to happen, reflection on the games gone by, and putting things into place for the next upcoming games.
A frequent question that we normally see on social media from the fans has been in relation to Bunny. Can you provide us any update on how she is? You spoke about workload quite often in recent press conferences. I'm sure our medical team also speaks with Man City's medical team on that as well.
Yeah, I think my conversations with Bunny are just making sure that she's okay. It's been a tough season, sort of injury-wise, and I know how dedicated and commitment she is to the country. So that's not really what it's about. It's like, hey, are you okay? Or, where you are, anything that we can do from the federation, coaching staff, medical staff, and our end. But the reality is she's at one of the biggest clubs in the world. She's in good hands, and it's kind of alluded to. She's not ever going to be released, or anyone for that matter, to play in a national team game without first coming back to her club, and rightfully so. So really, like her and any other player that's kind of injured, we do a check-in. Dr. Jillian Lawrence, Renee Balconi, our high performance director, they do a good job of checking in them as well and provide with me. And every once in a while, it's just kind of a check-in just to see how they're okay, and let them know that, hey, like there's support for them, and from mental standpoint and physical standpoint, we want to know that the players are well looked after, and they know that the country and the federation is behind them.
And when you look ahead to June, how excited are you about what lies ahead? The European champions, the ranked #1 team in the world. How much of a great opportunity is it for us as a nation?
Yeah, it's testing, right? You want to test yourself against the very best. These games count, but they don't count. So at the end of the day, it's like these are the ones that you want to find out a lot about yourself about and give opportunity for players. And I think, the one thing that we've kind of realized is you can't have stage fright in the biggest moments when it counts. So you've got to be able, at some point, you've got to be able to say, we're going to throw you in and see how players adapt to it. And what bigger opportunity for that than these games? And being around the group and understanding it and appreciating those moments. Some players get there, some players get there now. It's nothing to them. Sometimes it's a little bit later on. And the point is, we want them to get there at some point in this process. Some might come along a little bit later, but the idea is we want to be able to test ourselves against the very best, learn, improve, not just the players, for us as a staff as well. We also take that responsibility on wholeheartedly, and whatever we can do to improve ourselves, then we're going to do that. So, two really tough matches, and stern tests, but I know the staff and the players will be up for it.
And finally, Coach, firstly, we appreciate your time, but in relation to what lies ahead, what would you say is the plan between now and, of course, the end of May when camp comes together?
Yeah, so it's we've kind of concluded the learnings and areas where we can grow again as players and staff, and coming out of the Mexico series. And I think now the preparation for the site for the US has begun. I think it'll be a quick turnaround to England. I think we're not really looking to England just yet. I think all our focus is really on the US match and looking at the players that we can bring in. It's also kind of a funny time because our European-based players are finishing off their season, and then there's a kind of a big gap between from when they finish and to when they play, and how do they balance off having some downtime, going a little bit on vacation, but keeping that fitness levels up. I think we kind of learned those lessons. You talk about lessons learned. We learned those lessons from Brazil the year before or a year ago. This time we had the same sort of issue. I was just coming back in and we're playing Brazil, and Brazil's going to the Olympics, and they've been on this periodization and we've got players coming back off of vacation. So now that we know in advance, what are the things that we're putting in place now to ensure that their level of fitness and their sharpness is maintained up until July, while also respecting that they need downtime. And so some of those players who might need downtime will be given it, which allows for other players to come in and take the opportunity.
Coach Hubert Busby, thank you very much for your time. Greatly appreciated. Just before you go, just a word on JFF Live, the whole setup, the revamp, the JFF News, and just keeping persons in the loop with what's happening. Program. Yeah,
this is brilliant. Kind of pulling back the curtain a bit, but to make sure that the fans and the supporters, which is what we do this for. We do it for the country. We do it for the supporters, that they have this opportunity and platform to understand, get to know the players, the program, and what's happening. I think it's a brilliant platform, and may it continue.
Thanks very much, Coach. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Folks, stay tuned. Part 2 will be coming up quite soon. So, welcome to part 2 of episode 2 of the Executive Corner. It's an absolute pleasure for you to stay with us. You just heard from Coach Hubert Busby, head coach of the Reggae Girlz. And in part 2, we actually have a national player with us. And scored his first goal for Jamaica recently. Made his debut for Jamaica not too long before that. And he already has the experience of playing in North America and Europe. This man is also the leading goal scorer this season in the Jamaica Premier League. This is none other Warner Dwayne Brown. Warner, how are you doing?
Good, Simon.
As well?
Yeah, man, mostly.
Great. Good to hear from you. Family's all right?
Yeah, man, definitely.
Great. Tell us what 2025 has been like for you, because it feels like everything has gone by so quickly.
Well, 2025 is a year that I'm really grateful for, because, of course, got lots of opportunities and just me.
All right, good. Let's start where it all began. Growing up, was it always football? Did you play other sports growing up as a kid?
Well, obviously, this nation is known for track and field. So first off, I started off sprinting on the road, and I seen some older guys playing football, and that's where it all started.
Would say like our own primary school time?
Definitely primary school.
When would you say that moment that you said, you know what, football, this can be a career for me? Was it stats? Was it at Tivoli? When did it first say, football is my future?
I think it started at stats, because stats was not a school for sports and stuff like that, traditional high schools. So in stats team, I became an X Factor, and in result of that, I saw that I had the ability to go to the next level. So from there on, my coach pushed me through the PMs. Yeah, he helped me a lot. He said I had the potential to make it to the next level, so I should push on and try to make a transition to a professional player.
For you, were you always an attacking player, or you had other moments where you played in other positions as well?
Funny story. I started as a center back. Yeah, so my primary school coach, he said I knew the game, so it was good to have that experience with the speed. I always had speed. Yeah. Yes, it's good to have that experience and understanding of the game with that speed in the back. So yeah, and I made the transition. As my age goes up, went to midfield, right link, attacking midfield, and then striker from on a U13. Yeah, striker.
Was it like there was one training session and they were like, yeah, let's put Warner as a striker?
Well, no, it wasn't a specific training session. Yeah. I just always had the ability and the understanding of the game.
All right. In terms of club football, was Tivoli where it all began, or you had a chapter before being at Tivoli Gardens?
I had a chapter before Tivoli Gardens. I was at Dwayne Park FC. Yeah, so that's my community, Dwayne Park. So I played U13 there, U15, but I was back and forth with Harborview as well. So I had a spell at Harborview as well. I played in a tournament in Mexico. So from Duane Park, Harborview, Duane Park, then in after Manning Cup 2019, I made my debut in the Premier League, I think in 2022. Yeah,
So it just shows, Warner, that from you were a teenager, you had these experiences of playing abroad as well, like you said, Mexico, etc. Did it hit you like, okay, this is what football is like overseas, and this is what it's like in Jamaica? So you got that experience.
Yes. I mean, from that young age, U13,
Right.
I saw that on an international base, football is more developed in other countries. So if we're at level 3, other countries, level 6, level 7, they're more advanced in the technical areas and we're good athletes, of course. So I knew I understood it. Yeah.
How did that opportunity come to go to Rochester, New York? How did that come about? A phone call? We were playing at Tivoli. How did that story come about?
I think it's the breakthrough that I made in the Premier League, my debut season.
Right.
Yeah, I started off really well, but I picked up little knocks and little injuries. So, but the way that I start off, and yeah, some phone calls must be made with my agent and stuff. But I'm not aware of that part, but
Right.
must be.
Was it cold? What was the pitches like? The experience of you just signing for an overseas club, the whole experience of that.
To make the transition overseas compared locally. Locally, you grow up, you know that you should be do the basic pass move. Overseas is the basic plus more. So your pass move, arrive in the space, smaller details that add up to a lot more.
Wow.
So it was difficult at first, but as I go along, I had to just adapt and adjust to the football in change.
Right.
Yeah.
The style. Okay. Makes sense. Would you say it was the same as well in Slovenia? The physicality, the tactical part, that just helped you learn more about the game more? And you could say it has benefited you today?
Yes, definitely. All this overseas experience has made me a better player, a better character. So in Slovenia, it was even more challenging. Change of climate, the cold. Cold is a different story. It's hard as a Jamaican. You grow up all your life, you're in the heat, and then next thing you know, you're in the cold and your toes freezing. Muscles, you have to do better warm up for longer periods.
Right.
You have to keep warm so that your body can function right and you can run properly and all of that, So of course it makes a difference.
And it's good that you've gotten these experiences at such a young age as well, which has helped you for the future as well. So it's really good. You spoke earlier about, some niggles and some little injuries, but how are you doing right now? Would you say you're close to your best? You're shaking them off? How are you doing physically?
Physically,
yeah,
I'm still shaking them off because, of course, you have training, you have games. I'm currently in a season, so as a leading goal scorer, it won't be easy. Understand? So defenders are gonna come in with challenges because they want to protect their goal, and I want to score. So, it's always gonna be challenges. So I got a few knocks, but I mean, I'm okay. Not my best physically, but I'll be getting there soon.
What has the secret been for this season? The 21 goals so far, a good preseason, something you've been working on finishing. What has been the secret to the success so far this season for you?
Well, I think it's a combination of hard work and being self-driven. So last season, I had a poor season. Came in the preseason. I always kept my head down and worked really hard. So preseason, I worked hard as always, and I decided to start the season
competitive.
Mm.
So normally I'd be satisfied if I scored 2 goals in a training session. This time around, 2 goals in a training session is not acceptable.
Mm.
So I decided to start it on a high. So, and I'm trying to maintain it throughout the season. This is where it got me so far.
Tell us about the story of your first call up to the national team. January this year, meeting up with the team in Mobe. That experience.
Well, it was a dream come true because growing up as a kid, I always saw I always saw people talking about national team. I wasn't really aware until I get a better insight and they explained to me that this is representing a country. And then they taught me about the World Cup and stuff like that. So I said, oh, this is the highest level. And for me to be in my national team, January 2025, must be the best year of my life so far.
You walk in the dressing room, you see a jersey, you see the name on the back of your shirt, you see the name tag, all of those emotions.
Don't wake me up. Still dreaming.
Amazing. Yeah, I understand it. It's so much. And the coaching staff, your teammates, what it's been like getting to know them as well and settling in to the national team.
Well, they're very welcoming. Of course, it's a professional setup, but they're very welcoming. A lot of familiar faces, a lot of faces that I only saw on TV, but they're welcoming as well.
Yeah. Yes, so your debut, of course, in Mobe, and your second game was actually at Arnett as well. How special was it to actually play for your country in that venue?
Yeah. Well, really, really special moment. I mean, we're really happy that we got a point there, and we could showcase what we can do to our local fans that can't make it to the overseas games or the games away. Yeah, really, really grateful moment.
Growing up, who was there? Would you say there was a reggae boy that you looked up to? Which national player did you look up to growing up? I want to be like him, or you know what? I want to finish like him.
Well, only thing, I got number 21 jersey. This guy, Luton Shelton.
Yeah.
Really big boots to fill, but trust me, this guy was like one of my heroes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Luton Shelton.
Yeah, 35 goals for Jamaica. Yeah, Luton Shelton. Certainly an inspiration. Okay.
Yeah, the man. R.I.P.
Yeah. I know in March, for the matches against St. Vincent, and you get an opportunity to meet some of the overseas-based players and some of the guys who started in Jamaica but playing abroad now, like Shamar and Kahim and Sifas, etc. What was the March camp like for you as well?
Well, that camp was a really good camp, a great experience. As I said before, some familiar faces and some faces that I only saw on TV.
Right.
Really, really great experience because I said the guys are really welcoming and I learned a lot. So, like, for example, I'm playing in Jamaica. We are playing on a certain level, going national team and seeing how these guys perform, training, training, day in, day out. So top. It's really good. So I learn and I adapt and that's the level that I want to see myself on. So yeah.
Sabina Park, the second game. Talk us through your first goal for Jamaica from you receive the ball till it hit the net.
Well, as a striker, work of opportunities. So I saw an opportunity and if you don't shoot, you can't score. So I saw an opportunity and I took a shot and I was really happy it went in.
And the rest is history.
The rest is history.
1 goal, 1 assist that came from you?
Yeah.
Of course, you won the penalty in St. Vincent for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say it's a successful camp.
That's good.
Yeah.
Earlier we spoke about how you are physically and you're shaking off the niggling. You looking forward to the summer that lies ahead. Of course, playoffs are on the horizon, but the national team, it's a busy summer ahead. You looking forward to what lies ahead?
Yeah, I mean, currently I'm in the JPL playing, and as I say, playoffs coming up. I really want to focus on the playoffs and to finish the season strong. But I can't wait for the Gold Cup. I think that's the big one. I think that's where I really can get international level to showcase what I really can do.
Yeah, big summer ahead. 21 goals so far.
Yeah.
Maybe someone has told you the JPL record is 30.
Yeah, definitely.
That's something on your site.
Definitely, it's on my side. But I mean,
Yeah.
until then,
Yeah. One game at a time.
yeah, that's it. A game at a time.
Yeah,
Until the end
right.
of the season, we'll see.
Warner, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it. And we look forward to you continuing the great performances and an exciting summer ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. I'm really glad that I got the opportunity to come here. Thank you.
You're most welcome. So, folks, that is it for episode 2 of the Executive Corner. First with Coach Hubert Busby, and of course with national player Warner Brown, who has 4 caps for Jamaica and counting. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to JFF Live. See you all in the next episode.